Good afternoon, everybody. I am Eileen Heller. I'm joined today with Bill Pulte. Thank you for those of you that are joining us live. It is also being recorded for anybody that wants to review it after, or if anybody wasn't able to join. So know that it's being recorded. I do currently have your microphones muted and videos muted. However, feel free to use the chat window. And I'm also going to shoot out for you the PowerPoint slide deck that I'm running off of. If you want to take a little bit of time to open that up, just to know that you have a copy for yourself to review later. You can also add a copy or a shortcut to your Google Drive or download it. There's some resources within it that I'll note as we go through this that you can go back and review. Today, we're going to be really looking at Google Gemini AI, and I'm going to be doing the presentation, but I also have Bill Pulte on the call. He's going to be monitoring the chat. And Bill, feel free to jump in and come off mute anytime you want to add in. We planned this one to be 30 minutes, a little bit quicker to demonstrate just NotebookLM for you. And know in this webinar, it's more of a watch and get the overview with the idea that that recording will help you go more step by step when you want to get into NotebookLM. Hoping that this professional learning will get to more people, and knowing that not everybody has the luxury of spending time doing it at the exact same time. So to start off with, just to focus and connect us on our topic today, I would like you on this slide to use the chat to do two things. To include your name and your role here at ESU3. And then before you do that though, I want you to look at the graphics that I've added to this slide deck, A, B, C, or D. Select one of them to fill in this sentence in the chat. Artificial intelligence is like blank because. So if you're going to choose something like that maze down on letter C, you could say artificial intelligence is like C because, and then state your reasoning behind that. If the three pictures that I selected and used AI to create are not meeting what you would want to say, your choice for D, and then give us what it is like to you. So artificial intelligence is like a circus, might be an idea, because. So I'll give you a little bit of time to think about that and pop your answers to question 1 and 2 in the chat. Continue typing those, adding those in. As we watch some of those come through, I'm going to go into our first slide with the outcomes for today, and you can enjoy what anybody else sends in with that. For the outcomes, we're hoping by the end of this that you'll understand how to use Google Gemini NotebookLM for efficiency and productivity at your workplace. And it might seem like a roller coaster, it might seem like a maze, it might even be amazing. But what I know is it's constantly changing. So what is in NotebookLM today might change tomorrow. There might be some new things. So that's one of the exciting things about the tools, and also makes it seem a little much like the roller coaster. For today's agenda, I'm going to do an overview of the license features that you have available to you as an employee. I'll do a demonstration of NotebookLM, give you an overview, and then look at how you can construct one for yourself. And then I'll talk to you about the importance of things to know when you're sharing your notebooks, whether you need to give edit rights, view rights, or revoke access to a notebook. And then ways to build it appropriately if you're going to utilize it for something like onboarding staff in your department, or it's going to be a department-wide notebook. And then if we have time, I'll share with you some new features that I know are coming that maybe haven't rolled into your NotebookLM yet. And if we don't have time, the asterisk means that I'll just reference the slide for you to look at. And then I'll end up by showing you some resources to help you. The mode of this is all going to be demonstration. There really isn't time built in the 30 minutes for you to do the work yourself. So the idea around this is that I'm going to include the recording for you later. There's also a tutorial video if you feel like you want to go deeper into the subject or hear from a different person on the subject. So an overview of what you have available to you is that all employees have Google Education Fundamentals as their license. In specific to Google AI, that gives you access to Gemini, which is the chats and gems that we did in a previous webinar. And if you're interested in that and didn't get a chance, the recording has been sent out. I'll include a link to it when I send the recording for this one. And then NotebookLM is also an AI tool within our Google Education Fundamentals that we'll be looking at today. What's amazing about both of those is that unlike things like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Canva, is that they have enterprise-grade data protection. And so what I really like about that is that it's not going to train AI models. And it's going to be both COPPA and FERPA compliant. Notice it is not HIPAA compliant when you're looking at that. But specific to NotebookLM, there is this article that I linked in here around data protection. And what I really like is that it says your uploads, queries, and the model's responses will not be reviewed by human reviewers and will not be used to train AI models. So when you're trying to decide out of all of the AI tools to use, times that you would want to lean into Gemini or NotebookLM would be if you're using documents that are very private within the ESU3 experience and ecosystem that you wouldn't want to upload into things like Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and so on, because we have that extra layer of data protection. Bill, I always like to lean on you. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, I think that's a great summary.
Okay. So let's get into the overview of what NotebookLM can do for you. I've also included a link here to the video tutorial, a screenshot of some of my notebooks that I've started constructing. And I'm going to do a quick overview of the purpose and benefits, and then I'll go into the live platform. So one thing that is great about NotebookLM is that you can construct a notebook based on whatever resources that you want to add into it. And what it's going to allow you to do is select goals for it. So in my screenshot, I have something like the Nebraska Literacy Project. In that, I might be utilizing that notebook to learn more about that project, to understand it a little bit more. And then I have a Learning Forward Academy one, which is a cohort that I'm a part of for professional learning, and I get assigned work in there, and I'm doing a problem of practice. I'm using that for a different goal. I'm not only learning, but I'm also asking it to be a thought partner with me when I'm constructing things inside that. So it's great for specific sources and goals. What you can do is then you can upload documents from a PDF, or it can be straight from your Google Drive. You can add in websites, YouTube videos, and it's not going to go search all of the internet, but it is going to use the large language learning model to help do that predictive insights and ideas for you based off of the specific sources you choose to load into the notebook. So it's only going to point to those sources, but it's also going to layer on some of its large language learning model prediction with it. And then the other thing is that it allows some very supportive tools for you to understand things. So it's going to give you audio overviews, video overviews, mind maps, frequently asked questions. You can ask it specific questions about defining things or helping you understand things a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is go into a demonstration. And the first demonstration that I'm going to do is an overview of a notebook that I already have open. And then I'm going to back you out and show you how would you find NotebookLM? How would you create your first notebook? So think of this like the Food Network. They're going to show you the baked cake first to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. And then they're going to show you step by step how to bake that cake. So imagine here you are in your first notebook. To give you an idea of what it can do, I have a notebook and I decided my topic would be around Universal Design for Learning in the Nebraska MTSS framework. Now, you don't have to know anything about this to understand that this is the setup of every notebook. You will load in all of your sources on the left side. So you can see all of these sources that I've added. I've added PDFs, a website, a Google slide, more PDFs, and a video from YouTube. The way that it uses the videos from YouTube is the YouTube video has to have a transcript attached to it. So it's taking the words that are within that video. And the way that it works with a website is it's only going to capture the words that are on that website. So when I add this in later, I'll show you that that website has a lot of links in it. I would have to go add each of the linked websites if I wanted it to pull from there. So once you get your sources that you want it to run off of loaded, it's going to automatically create an overview for you in this middle section, and then it's going to allow you to start chatting with it. It's going to give you some potential prompts like, how does the Nebraska MTSS framework integrate universal design for learning principles? And if I use the arrow over, it's going to give you more questions to consider. What are the foundational elements? How does database decision-making support the process? So you can use some of those, and what it's going to do is it's going to use the large language learning model and only the sources that you've provided to give you an answer around that. And when it gives you the answer, it's also going to tag it with citations as to exactly where it's pulling that information. So as it answers that question for me, I see little 1 and a little 2 popping up there, a 3, and then when it gives you the ellipse, you can click on the ellipse and you can see that it has 4 and 5 hiding in there also. So if you're curious about where it's getting this from, you can click on it and it will run through your sources, and it's telling me this specific information was coming from my PDF that I had around the Nebraska MTSS framework, and it's highlighting where some of the information came from when it did its answering of that question. When you're within your sources, when it dives into one, there's the 2 little arrows that will allow you to close the source view and take you back to see your original sources. So that's a great benefit because it allows me to find exactly where it's pulling that information. Now, something different about NotebookLM than what you might experience in other types of chat programs like ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity is that when you refresh the chat or you refresh the browser, it makes that response go away. It doesn't hold on to that. But let me show you a way that you could hold on to that. And let me also show you another method of doing your chat. I had all of my sources turned on. You can keep them all on, but you can also ask questions very specific to a source or multiple sources. So the CAST Universal Design for Learning website, I want to ask a question specific to that. And I'm going to ask it to help me with something instead of just explaining something. I want to support my learners with new vocabulary. Provide specific guidelines I should consider as a teacher. So it's going to only point to that source this time, and it's going to help me consider some ideas that I might want to think about. And then it's going to give me a few ideas very specific to that. Now, let's say that that's important information for me, that I want to save that so that I don't lose that. There's some options. I can save it to notes or I can copy it. So what I'm going to choose is save to note, and I want you to watch this right side area under these colorful icons. And when I save to note, it's going to add that note right here so that anytime I want to come back to that, I can read what it showed. I can also delete it if I'm done with it. And then I can also rename it at any time, or I guess not renaming this one, I can convert it to a source. So that would push it over to my sources and it would live within my sources. So the chat feature is wonderful for getting an overview, for asking specific questions and prompting it, allowing you to do it for all sources or select sources. In the next feature, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit about what I've already done with the studio. You can see that you can make audio overviews, video overviews, a mind map, or a different variety of reports, such as a briefing doc, study guide, frequently asked questions, or a timeline. As the constructor and editor of this notebook, I can add those down below for anything that I wanted to create. So you can see the different style of things that I've created. A note is denoted by this little piece of paper here. So I have several notes, but I want to show you what a mind map looks like. A mind map takes the 7 items that I've put into the sources and constructs a concept map to help me understand it a little bit better. And if I see an arrow right next to it, it will let me drill down into it. So I'm really wanting to discover more around how Universal Design for Learning is connected to Nebraska MTSS. So when I click on it, it expands it out a little bit more. And I can see the goals and principles and look fors and something about specially designed instruction. If I'm curious about that, I can keep drilling into it. And it drills down, but notice I don't have an arrow next to this one for students with IEPs. If I click on that one, then it takes it into a chat and asks the chat to discuss what the sources say about that so that I can learn that a little bit deeper. So that mind map allows another way to look at what those sources have in connection to one another, and then for you to drill into it and ask more questions around it. And then you have the same options when you're finished, where you can save that to the notes, or you can copy it and put it in a different source like a Google Doc or in an email, and then you can always refresh it if you're done with it. I can download that concept map. I can also close out of that studio concept map and come back to all of them. Some other items that I really like that it allows me to do is it will construct a frequently asked questions document that might be supportive of me or others that are utilizing this. And then the video overview is a newer tool, and it takes all of the sources and constructs a visual way to look at this. So I'm just going to use my fast forward button so that you can see a few of the things
possible, but
that it includes in there.
too, which is more targeted help for some students. It's all about designing lessons and environments.
And with that, there's 2 options with the videos. You can share the video to other people within your domain. So within ESU3, I could share this to anybody, just the video. Or I could download it, and it's going to download as an MP4. And then I could share that with others via Google Drive or upload it to my YouTube channel, whatever method that I need to utilize, or include it even in a presentation. Now the audio overview, I'm going to show you next. I've actually constructed 2, because when you construct an audio overview, there's a little pencil, and now you have the rights to do a deep dive. That's the default, where you're going to get about a 19 to 20 minute podcast between 2 hosts, and they're going to do a deep dive on all those sources. If you unselect some of the sources, then it's only going to do the deep dive on the sources you still have. Now, a brief one's going to be a little bit shorter. A critique is going to give constructive feedback based off of your materials. That might be helpful on the one where I have an assignment, or it's going to do a lively debate between them. You can also select what language you want it in, and then you can give me a focus of what you want. So when you generate that, what I asked it to do was I have the deep dive, but in my brief audio, I gave it instructions to be brief, and I gave it instructions to explain to a school leader how Universal Design for Learning can support multi-tiered systems of support. In this one, the brief overview,
This is the brief on what
a minute and 35 seconds. The deep dive, when I go
So,
to deep dive, it is 21 minutes and 59 seconds. So you can see quite a difference between those two. In the deep dive, one more thing that I like to show is the deep dive allows you to do an interactive where I get to insert a question to the podcast people. So I'm going to start my deep dive and then I'm going to go into interactive mode. You know what? This isn't going to work on Zoom. It's not going to allow me to do that because I'm using my microphone for Zoom. If I were to start this deep dive, then partway through I can hit join and I can say, please define this word or explain to me this. And they'll stop the podcast. They'll say, thank you, great question. And then they'll actually answer me based off of what my sources have within them. So that's an overview of all of the things that are available within the notebook. I'm next going to go in and show you how to find NotebookLM and then construct NotebookLM or a notebook for yourself. While I'm doing that, feel free to add questions into the chat. Bill's going to be monitoring the chat, and I'm going to jump over and show you how to find NotebookLM. So step one to find NotebookLM, it is now available inside your Google Apps launcher. And if you slide down, you'll see NotebookLM right here with the same icon that you see in the corner in here. And when you open it, you will likely have no notebooks unless you've constructed or somebody shared them with you. At the top, I'm showing all my notebooks. I can also see which ones are mine specifically versus those shared with me. And then within these, I have an option to create new in the top corner or over on the left side. So I'm going to demonstrate how I created that UDL and Nebraska MTSS framework one. I'll click Create Notebook, and it's automatically going to ask me to load in some sources. Notice in the top right, you can also discover sources. That allows you to discover sources based on a topic from the web or from your Google Drive. I'm going to close that. I already know which sources I want. When I did that, it also took me into the notebook interface. And so this is an empty notebook, and I need to add sources into it. So I'm going to add sources. And in the free version that comes with our Google Workspace, you can load up to 50 sources, and it's going to monitor how many sources you're adding within here. So I'm going to upload some sources that I have on my desktop right now, and they're going to be related to my topic of the Nebraska MTSS framework and Universal Design for Learning. They're all these PDFs that I have. I'll open those, and it's going to start loading those into the sources area. It's already going to start thinking about generating an overview for me. I'm going to go continue adding in sources. I'm going to add in something from my Google Drive that I have. It's a slide deck that I had that gives an overview of the Nebraska MTSS tiers and Universal Design for Learning. So it can add those in from your Google Drive. I can also add in a website and a YouTube video, or I can even copy text from another place and add that in. So let's talk about the website. I have this website from the CAST network, and it's full of links. When I add in this website, it is only going to do the text that is available on this web page. It is not going to read every individual link. But I think that this is a good website because I want it to access the different UDL guidelines. So I'm going to click and copy that URL, and then I'm going to select add a website. I'll paste in my link, and I'll insert that website. Again, if I want it to drill down into engagement specifically, I would have to open up engagement and copy paste that and bring that over. The other thing I want to show you is a YouTube video. So I've located this YouTube video about what is MTSS. I've watched this video before. I know it's a really good one from Novak Education. I've vetted it. I know it connects to the topic really well. So I'm going to copy that URL, and I'm going to paste that in as a source for my notebook from YouTube. Notice it's starting to add in those sources. It already has a chat. And then I could start chatting with it. I could go in and get an audio overview, a video overview, a mind map. When you do the audio overview and video overview, just a heads up, it's going to take some time. So I can start this video overview. I can click on the pencil and give it very specific things, but it's going to take a while. So I can go about my business and let it run and start to create as it does it. Now back on our slide deck, that's the demonstration, that's the construction. I want to spend a little bit of time that we have left talking about some limitations and then also how to share the notebook. So some limitations that you might want to consider: our standard free account allows you to have 100 notebooks at any time that you own. You can put up to 50 sources within that. You can have up to 50 chat queries per day. And then it's going to do up to 3 daily overviews for audio. And then the sources that you put in there can have up to 500,000 words or 200 megabytes. So you want to consider that when you're adding in your sources. How big is your source? Because it will just stop looking at the last pages of your source if it goes over that. If you ever upgrade to the Pro version, that's going to raise all of those limits when you're looking at that. That's included in the slide deck if you want to go back to that for reference, but I want to spend some time on sharing your notebook with edit rights or view rights, or if you're the owner of it. So the edit rights are going to give you the same rights as the owner, in that you can create the things in the studio, add sources, you can chat and save things to the studio. The only thing you can't do is rename the notebook or delete the notebook. And then if you share with view rights, there's a lot of things to consider for your viewers. I've included a screenshot that if you ever want to take that screenshot and share it with others, feel free to take that off that slide deck. But they're not going to be able to, with view rights, construct the things within it. They can interact with the things that you've constructed. So if you gave them an audio overview and a video overview, they'll be able to listen and view them. They'll be able to interact with the sources. They'll be able to interact and ask for questions. They'll be able to copy things out of the chat, but they can't add anything over under the studio, and they can't add sources in there. They also can't delete any of the sources that you've added in for them. So I'm going to go over and demonstrate sharing by going up to the share section. And then one of the limitations of NotebookLM at this current time is it only allows you to share with other people within ESU3. So I built this one. The owner is my Heller student account that I'm in. So I can share with anybody within ESU3, and then I have the right to give them rights as a viewer or an editor. And once I give them rights, I can also revoke access. Now this copy link, don't let it fool you. Copy link does not give them access. You have to give them access first. And then this copy link is if you ever wanted to add it in somewhere for easy access. Like if you wanted to copy it and shoot it out in an email and say, hey, I've added all of you, but here's a quick link to it. There's also the little check mark if you don't want to notify them as you're typing in all their names and giving them access. But once you send it, they will be able to access it once they click on it once. So sending them that email is really helpful. They'll have access to it, and then it will show up in their notebooks, and it will also show up in the shared with me. With your notebooks, like I mentioned before, you can edit the titles, you can delete notebooks that you're not using anymore. But if it was shared with me and I'm not the owner of it, I can remove it from my notebook platform, but I can't edit or actually delete it. The other item to think about is the limitation of not being able to share with other people outside of ESU3. So if you're going to support a district with NotebookLM, a tip is to support them in creating it within their account so that they can utilize it within their district. And then the other thing to keep in mind is we had considered using a notebook across all of our department. that we had constructed. So instead of me making that notebook or somebody else, we utilized our department PLD email. Every department has a generic kind of Google account that's constructed for them. And so you'll see in my screenshot that the owner of our PLD curriculum toolbox notebook, the owner is that Google account, not a specific owner. And then we gave edit rights to specific people and view rights to others, so that those that were closest to the project could be adding in sources, adding in the tools for them, and then other people are able to do the chat and they're able to utilize the things that they constructed in the studio. The newer features coming, I can't demonstrate them. They haven't even arrived into mine, but eventually they're going to have flashcards and quizzes because teachers are starting to utilize this with students, and it's also helpful for you for learning. Noting that it's 4 o'clock, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not going to demonstrate any of this, but currently right now we in a Google Workspace cannot create public notebooks. However, I included this slide deck to let you know consumer accounts. So my personal Gmail account, I can make public notebooks and I can copy a link and share it out widely. They do have some linked in here that you can look at. And then as we wrap up today, that demonstration was just to give you an overview. I will be sharing out some resources here. As I do that, will you please share in the chat from my overview when considering NotebookLM and your role at ESU3, what are you most excited about as you leave our session for today? As you're drafting that, I'm going to go to our last slide that's within the Google slide deck for you. And it holds all of the resources that might support you learning a little bit more around this. I've included the video tutorial that's 13 minutes. It was available on the other slides, but I also want to direct your attention to the LinkedIn Learning course that's available. It takes approximately 33 minutes, but it's chaptered out. So if there's specific things that you want to look at, you can go directly to them. And then I also included the NotebookLM help link within there that has a lot of information. As you finish up with your chat of what you're excited about, thank you so much for joining. I will share the recording tomorrow out widely to all employees. Also, I'll share out the previous one that we did on Gemini Chats and Gems. And Bill Pulte, anything you want to add in about NotebookLM before we close out?
Nope, that was great.
Thank you. As you share what you're most excited about, thank you for joining and have a great night for anybody signing off.